Welcome to The Explainer. Right off the bat, we need to talk about how you might literally be ruining your own brain power without even realizing it. I know you're trying incredibly hard to be productive, you're grinding away at your desk, but what if you're actually sabotaging your cognitive potential in the background?
It's a pretty heavy question, right? Obviously, everyone wants a sharper, higher performing brain. But today, we're completely bypassing the generic advice. No one needs another reminder to eat well or get 8 hours of sleep. You already know all that. Instead, we're diving into 5 highly specific, totally counterintuitive system upgrades. We're looking at the raw neuroscience of how to rebuild your mental operating system from the ground up.
Think about the stark difference between these two states of being. Right now, a lot of us are stuck operating with a glitched mind. You know the feeling. You're bogged down by bad inputs, instinctively relying on AI to think for you, scrolling the literal second you feel bored, and mistaking constant stimulation for actual productivity. We need to shift you into a Brainmaxx high performer. And we're going to do that by taking back control of your neural circuitry, embracing a little patience, and actually leaning into the struggle.
Okay, let's start by fixing your inputs. System upgrade number 1, the cognitive offloading delay.
Here's the deal. The next time you run into a problem and your thumb instinctively twitches to open Google or ask an AI to solve it for you, I want you to hit pause. You've got to implement a strict 60 to 90-second delay, just 1.5 minutes, where you try to figure out the answer yourself. Just sit there and actively think. Can you at least make a solid guess before you hand over all the heavy lifting to your tech? This brilliantly shows exactly why that delay is absolutely crucial. It goes back to a foundational biological principle: neurons that fire together wire together. Every single time you outsource a basic problem to AI, you're essentially letting that part of your brain stay weak. But here's the really cool secret. Even if you guess the answer completely wrong, just the sheer attempt at retrieving that info forces your brain to fire and wire. It's building real cognitive strength. It's not about being right. It's literally about forcing the biological effort.
Now, moving into the encoding phase. What if I told you that doing absolutely nothing for 10 minutes is the secret to permanent memory? It brings us to this highly disruptive idea championed by Stanford neuroscientist Robert Sapolsky. It probably sounds crazy in our fast-paced, constantly plugged-in world, but it is an absolute biological necessity.
System upgrade number 2, post-learning quiet wakefulness.
After you've spent time wrestling with a hard skill or reading something dense, do not touch your phone. Seriously, just stare at a blank wall, lie on your bed with your eyes closed, or go for a quiet walk. Why? Because doing absolutely nothing allows a powerful neuromodulator called acetylcholine to get to work. You can think of it like a bright yellow highlighter inside their brain, explicitly telling your biological systems which exact pieces of data need to be permanently consolidated into your hippocampus.
The major takeaway here is that instant stimulation violently interrupts this whole process. If you immediately open Instagram after learning something, your brain shifts focus and completely overrides that acetylcholine highlighter. But if you just sit in quiet wakefulness for about 10 minutes, it functions remarkably similar to the powerful memory-cementing effects of REM sleep. It is literally the highest leverage thing you can do to encode memory permanently. All right, let's shift over to the data processing phase and get ready for a weird one. Why on earth is purposely struggling with a foreign language the hidden key to curing your procrastination? I know, it sounds totally unrelated, right? But it all comes down to how intentionally introducing friction into one area of your life somehow makes everything else feel easier.
This is system upgrade number 3, second language production.
The critical keyword here is production. We're talking about shifting from just passively listening to a language app to actively trying to speak or write a real thought. This forces your brain to hold meaning completely separate from words and rebuild it from scratch. And the ROI on this intense mental struggle, it's massive. That exact agitation physically thickens the executive control regions of your brain. That is the biological mechanism that dictates whether you have the discipline to get out of bed and work or if you just stand under the covers scrolling. By forcing short-term difficulty, you're buying yourself long-term ease in your daily discipline. And leaning into that struggle requires a massive shift in how we view ourselves, specifically around self-trust. Overcoming the fear of failure is ultimately a self-trust issue. So many of us are terrified of taking risks or chasing those repeating aspirations, like starting that business or moving to a new country, just because we're scared we'll look foolish if we fail. But you've got to listen to that inner voice. Taking risks and making mistakes is just the process of collecting data to build a better system. Always remember, failing is still data. Continuing with this data processing theme, we need to look a little deeper. Have you ever considered that your unexamined subconscious beliefs might secretly be controlling 95% of your daily actions? Well, the neuroscience points to yes. Over a lifetime, we stack up this mountain of beliefs, many of them ugly, limiting, and completely unexamined, and they silently dictate our outcomes behind the scenes.
So, to truly Brainmaxx and build that prefrontal complexity, you have to initiate system upgrade number 4, Steelmanning your ego. You have to pull those subconscious beliefs up to the surface and be totally willing to blow down your own cognitive framework like a flimsy house of cards. To do this, I want you to try the weekly Steelman protocol. Step 1, take a position you hold really strongly. Step 2, go find and read the smartest possible case against it. And step 3, try to argue that opposing side even better than its actual believers do. Being able to hold two incompatible models in your head at the same time is the ultimate antidote to just grabbing the first confident story you hear. It ensures your mental frameworks are incredibly robust. So look at what we've done. You've upgraded your inputs, your memory encoding, your executive function, and your core belief systems. But how do we biologically sync this newly upgraded mind so it actually runs flawlessly at peak daily rhythm? Well, we need a master switch. And that master switch is our final stage, the morning sunlight system reboot. Because your human biology and endocrinology are immensely complex, in order to utilize these cognitive upgrades, your hormone cycles absolutely have to be synced up with your circadian cycles. So this protocol is non-negotiable. You must get outside within 30 minutes of waking up. Eyes open, strictly no sunglasses, and you need to get 10 minutes of natural light. And yes, before you ask, this works perfectly fine even through really heavy cloud cover. This one simple daily action completely rewinds your circadian clock. It sets your entire endocrinology into perfect rhythm, literally powering and syncing up the entire Brainmaxx system we've just spent this time building today. When you stack all this together, just look at your final state. You've transitioned from a glitched, reactive mind into a Brainmaxx high performer. You delay cognitive offloading to build real neural strength. You use quiet wakefulness to permanently encode data. You produce a second language to thicken your executive control. You steelman your ego to build robust beliefs. And you use morning sunlight to reboot the hardware. You have officially mastered these 5 specific high ROI neuroscience habits. If you are ready to take these highly tuned systems even further, join our school community and send a DM on Instagram to apply for elite one-on-one coaching today. I'll leave you with this final provocative thought. If failing is simply collecting data, and struggle is the biological cost of an easier life, what exactly are you waiting for to initiate your own system upgrade?